Brian Foster, and today I'm talking about Spiritism. And today is Sunday, February 6, 2022. Now, in the Spiritist Review, I've been going through the selected passages in the Spiritist Review of 1858, which is a compilation of the monthly periodicals edited and some of them authored by Allan Kardec, the man who codified the Spiritist book in the 1850s. I recommend anyone who wants to learn about Spiritism to download the Spiritist book or buy it on Amazon or on the FEB bookstore site. You can actually go to my site, www.nwspiritism.com. Click on his picture, Allan Kardec's picture right here. It'll take you to the FEB bookstore. You can find the Spirit's book, all his books by Chico Xavier, which are wonderful. Yvonne Piera, and others. So I would recommend that immensely. The other thing you can do is to download my book free on my site, nwspiritism.com. It's Spiritism 101, the Third Revelation. It's about 100 pages, a quick overview of Spiritism. I'd recommend for some people who you wish, read that first, then read the Spiritist book. I think the Spiritist book will make more sense to you, but that's just my opinion. Look for it for yourself. But also, you can find all of my books on nwspiritism.com, as well as Spiritism 101 in Kindle, paperback, and in Audible format. So, let's have a prayer before we begin. Dear Jesus, thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on us. Help us be grateful for all the legions of spirits that help us every day. Help us recognize the amount of effort and love that is put into each one of us, the planning, the attention, the constant watchful eyes of the spirits around us. Amen. Okay, let's start. This is a book. This is in the book of Spiritist Review, Journal of Psychological Studies, October 1858. And in here he's talking about the obsessed and subjugated. A lot has been said about the dangers of Spiritism. It is remarkable, however, that those who scream the most are exactly those who only know it from what they heard about it. We have already refuted the main arguments brought up by them, thus we shall not return to that topic. We shall only add that if we wanted to eliminate from society everything that could offer danger and give rise to abuses, we wouldn't have much left, even those things of real necessity, starting from the fire, the cause of so many tragedies, the railroads, and etc. If one admits that the advantages compensate the inconvenient, the same must apply to everything else. At the same time, experience indicates the precautions that need to be taken to protect us against the inevitable dangers of things. Now, what he's talking about is it's been cautioned by the Catholic Church and other Christian religions is do not talk to spirits. Many people believe if you talk to any spirits, they're all demons. Well, according to Spiritism, there are no demons. There are low spirits that will attempt maybe sometimes to do you harm. And that's where Spiritism, what they do is they'll take mediums and they'll train them and make sure, and when they're at a medium's meeting at a table, they won't be by themselves. Don't try and summon spirits by yourself. You never know what you get. And a lot of times they will come and they will appear to be someone else and they'll try and fool you. That's why if you are interested in mediumship, read the Book of Mediums by Allan Kardec. He'll tell you all about different spirits and how to discern what level a spirit is on. You won't be able to do it just one time. It will take you probably multiple sessions. But I urge everyone not to be a medium by themselves. Okay, let me continue. Spiritism truly poses a real danger, but it is not the danger that one supposes. It is necessary to be initiated in the principles of science, to understand it well. We do not address those who are unaware of such principles, but the individuals aware of these principles themselves, those who practice them, since these are the individuals who face danger. It is necessary that those principles be understood, so the adepts can be on guard, which he means by mediums. As they say, a known danger is a half-avoided danger. We say more. To whoever is informed about the science, such a danger does not exist. It does exist only to those who have the presumption of knowledge, that is to say, as with everything else, to those that do not have the necessary experience. So he's talking directly to mediums. Once you have knowledge and you read the medium's book and you work with other spiritist mediums and you understand the different levels of spirits, what spirits can and cannot do, and the power of yourself, then you can start talking to spirits. And, sometimes you'll talk to lower spirits, but then you'll be in a medium's meeting that's going to be protected by higher spirits, and they'll just let that spirit in so you may help that spirit. I've been to many meetings like that. And again, the religions say don't talk to spirits, but that's because the priestly class have always wanted, and this is even beyond Jesus' time, have always wanted to communicate with the other world on their own, and then keep that knowledge away from the populace. And then if the populace wants to understand something, they have to pay for it. It's been a natural exchange for thousands and thousands of years. Okay, I'll continue. A very natural desire in everyone that starts to get involved with Spiritism is to become a medium, mainly psychographic. That's someone who writes down what comes through their mind. It is really the kind that exerts more attraction given the facility of communications and for being the one that more easily is developed by exercise. It is understandable the satisfaction that someone must feel when, for the first time, sees their hand forming letters and later on phrases, answering to their thoughts. These automatically traced answers, without the person knowing what is going on, that frequently is outside of any personal idea, cannot leave any doubt regarding the intervention of an occult intelligence. Therefore, they show great happiness on dealing with the beings of beyond the grave, with these mysterious and invisible beings that populate the spaces. Relatives and friends are no longer absent. The fact that one cannot see them does not mean they are not present. One talks to them and is seen by them through thought. One can know if they are happy, know what they do, what they want, and exchange kindness. It is clear that the separation between them is no longer eternal, that they have expectations for the moment when they can finally meet in a better world. That is not all. How much more cannot one know through the communicating spirits? Won't they lift the veil of all things? No more mysteries now, just ask to know it all. One can see antiquity shaking before the dust of times, excavate ruins, interpret symbolic scriptures, and revive past centuries before one's eyes. This one is more prosaic, less worried about probing the infinite where his thought is lost, being interested only in exploiting the spirits to make a fortune. The spirits the spirits who should know and see everything cannot deny the allowance of some hidden treasure or some marvelous secret. So what Allan Kardec is saying is this is what people think is going to happen. Like they're going to have the wisdom of the ages. They're going to find some wonderful treasure. They're going to be told their future, right? I mean, why do people go look at fortune tellers? Because they want to know their future. Now, let's step back for 1 second. First of all, spirits will only talk to mediums, not all the time, but mostly talk to mediums on the same spiritual level. So to talk to a higher spirit, you need to be in a higher spiritual level, a higher spiritual plane of maturity. A high spirit won't tell you, oh, yes, you're going to be rich next week, so don't do anything today. Just kind of lounge around, watch TV. They're not going to do that. They're going to give you moral exhortations. They're going to give you guidance on what you should do to improve yourself. Every time I've been in Spiritist meetings, at the end of the meeting, the Spiritist leader of the spirit will give a psychograph message or a verbal message through a medium to the group. I've never seen a message saying, what a great job everybody here did. You're just perfect. What wonderful people. No, it's like, okay, you're working. You got to work harder. You got to study more. It's always like, this is the level we want. You're not going to talk to spirits and get a bunch of compliments. You're going to get direction. Just like when you talk to that teacher, right? You're not going to get, well, you're just a great person. No. This is what you need to improve on. The teacher, the one that challenged you. This is what you're going to get in the spirit world. Okay, let me continue. Whoever takes the time to study the Spiritist science will never fall for such beautiful dreams. They know which should be avoided, and with respect to the power of spirits, of their nature, and the objective of the relationships that man can establish with them. Let us recall, to begin with, in a few words, the main points that must never be kept off sight, as they are the cornerstone that sustains the whole edifice. Okay, now these are the important points. Number one, the spirits are not all equal, nor in power, nor in knowledge or wisdom. As they are no more than human souls detached from the corporeal body, they present a variety even greater than that of men on earth, because they come from all worlds and among the globes. Earth is neither the most basic nor the most advanced. Thus, there are very superior spirits, as there are very inferior ones, very good and evil, very wise and very ignorant. There are those of levity, malevolence, liars, astute, hypocrites, polished, sharp, jokers, etc. So this is so important that, and I know, talking to spiritualist, that when a medium who's not a spiritist starts talking to a spirit, sorry to take a drink of water, they get very excited because people think I'm talking to someone on the other side of the veil. I'm talking to someone who knows what the spirit world is like, knows God, right? Knows all these things. Well, no, that's not true. They'll have opinions on them, and a lot of times their opinions are incorrect, especially those ones on the lower level, because they're kept and not allowed to go to heaven until they change their attitude and help improve their character. So they'll create all these different ideas. So this is why you should read the medium's book and find out the level of spirit you're talking to. I talked to this one medium, and she said that other spiritist medium said, "Yeah, come and help me channel the spirit." And she said, "Well, do you know who you're talking to? Do you know what level they are on?" And of course, she got mad at her because she got so excited talking to a spirit that she didn't want to dive deeper in case she probably found some reason to not listen. Oh, we got a question here. Sorry, behind this. Okay. How do you define the difference between spiritism and spiritualism? So spiritualism is a broad envelope, right? Umbrella, I should say. And spiritism is probably a section of it, because spiritualism believes in the other world. Now, there are spiritualists who don't believe in reincarnation. In fact, I think the organization of I think churches, I think the United States of spiritualist churches, they haven't really decided if they believe in reincarnation and all that. They do believe in talking to other spirits. So that's kind of the broad peg. Now, spiritism, you take a subset of that, and there's other parts, but spiritism really is the one that I think the main thing that makes a difference. One is spiritism is a doctrine, not a religion. It's a doctrine, means a religion, philosophy, and science together. But what I've seen of spiritualists is I've seen a lack of discernment on who they channel their messages from, and they just allow this open communication without any testing. Now, I'm sure people can cite areas where I'm wrong, but I believe in spiritism, it's a lot more rigorous. Yes, I think errors do come through, but what I've seen is that when errors come through, other spiritists kind of say, "Well, I'm not sure about that." And they investigate more, and they go, "Oh, no, don't listen to that spirit," because everyone could get fooled at any time. So spiritism is what I believe is, it has more rigor and definition and discipline. It has a basic foundation that was given to us by the Spirit of Truth. And as promised, let me bring that up. And I think this is the other main difference in the New Testament. And that was in John chapter 14, verses 15 to 17. "If you love me, keep my commands, and I'll ask the Father, and he will give you another consoler to help you and be with you forever, the Spirit of Truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you." So spiritism really is what we call the third revelation. The first is Moses, the second is Jesus, and the third is Allan Kardec codifying the Spirit's book with the answers organized by the Spirit of Truth, having multiple spirits talking to multiple mediums, giving the same or similar answers to the same questions as created by Allan Kardec under the in the intuition and the influence of spirits around him. In fact, there was this great mediums meeting where these mediums talked to the spirit, and he was an errant spirit. It's like going around the road, right? And just kind of not good nor bad. They said, look, if you want to be better, why don't you just learn? We'll help you in this meeting and start doing good things. So they talked to him like another couple of weeks later. And they said, okay, what have you done? Well, I've tried to help people, but I've also were interested in Spiritism. This is the time in the 1850s, Allan Kardec. So I went to Allan Kardec's house, and I saw him there, and he was at his desk, and he was writing. And he was looking at it like, oh, this is great. Of course, there was like all these spirits around him giving him ideas, right? And it was so loud in his brain. At one point, he thought there was like a fly or a bee in his office. So he got up and looked around and opened the windows and see if there was some sort of insect or something around. Then he went back down and kept writing. So the medium sent this to Allan Kardec and said, this is what the spirit saw. What do you think? He goes, yeah, that happened. I was writing and I thought, oh, this is really brilliant. And I got up and I heard some buzzing around, and actually that was the multiple voices of the spirits talking to him. And so, yeah, so that is he must have been there. So there you go. I mean, that's hopefully that answers the question. So Spiritism is brought to us by Jesus, right, under the influence of Jesus. It is disciplined. It is trying to come up with a doctrine. It's not meant to be a religion for the world. What is meant to be and what is predicted to be is other religions. Buddhism, which already has a lot of the tenets of Spiritism, they were far ahead. But Catholicism, all the other religions will adopt the basic tenets of karma, reincarnation, the concept of heaven, the lower zone, dark abyss, where there's no eternal hell or eternal punishment. So that is the big difference. So I hope that helps. Okay, let me get back to where we were here. Oops. Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. A lot of people need to know that. Okay. The second point that Allan Kardec wanted to make: we are incessantly surrounded by a cloud of spirits that occupy the space around us, despite the fact that we cannot see them, watching our acts, reading our thoughts, some to do us good, others to do us harm, whether good or bad spirits, accordingly. And to me, and I think to many other people, this is a hard concept. That basically he's telling us, what is he telling us? We have no privacy. They're always around us. If they can follow us in the bathroom or wherever they want to, that we are an open book. They can read our minds, and they can see by our aura what level we are. This is why when you are a good person and you try to do good and you don't let inspirations come that are bad inspirations, and you filter them out through your conscience, they'll just like leave you alone because you're no fun. It's like the bullies on the playground, right? If you don't react to their nonsense, they'll just move on to the next person that does. And so so the idea that we swim in a sea of spirits sounds like, are we some primitive tribe, right? Do I believe in spirits? And the answer is yes, that we do believe in spirits. Spiritists and a lot of spiritualists believe in spirits. A lot of people wouldn't give themselves either of those labels believe in spirits. And that's because they have an intuition that there is something else out there. And it all makes sense. And Spiritism brings all this together. because spirits just aren't there because, oh, we're just kind of wandering around, and when we lose our physical bodies, we're just a bunch of zombies and we don't know what to do, right? Which you'll see a lot in some movies, right? No, spirits are on earth to improve themselves. Those who do not improve themselves, those who are too materialistic, too mean, too bad, too violent, when they pass over, they will not go to heaven. They'll stay on the lower zone, which is the as defined by Spiritism, is the crust of the earth up to the lowest level of heaven. Or, as by the law of affinity, they will put at the level they should be. They may go down into the dark abyss, which is a type of purgatory, a not very good place where they will be with others like them. And this is how Spiritism helps mold and fights evil. They use evil to fight evil. They use horrible people to be with horrible people. So some of those horrible people at any given time say, I don't like being with these horrible people. I want to change. I want to change the scenery, and I want to change my own character and personality. Then they will be helped up. Now, so why are we here surrounded by spirits? We go through this life after life to learn to improve our personality and character and to improve our thoughts. Why? Because when you are in heaven, thought is action. You don't build a house by chopping down wood and nailing the timbers together. No, you and maybe some other people together, if that's what you want, will get, and they will think, and you will modify the matter around you, the universal fluid, and you'll create a house, furniture, all that. You'll create everything by thought. So if you are a very mean person, a very revengeful person, a hateful person, are you going to be allowed into an area where you can create by thought? Even though in the lower areas, they still have some of this, but not like in heaven, though. Are you going to be allowed there? No, it's not. You're not going to let a 12-year-old drive a car. They'll run over people. So this is why we're here. It all makes sense. It sounds somewhat primitive to us, but when you look at the whole structure, and this is what Allan Kardec did. He gave us the whole structure, and then it all begins to make it. It's a genius. It's a genius process to create immensely powerful, benign, benevolent, wise spirits with a huge amount of power that would look like gods to us. Jesus has the power of a god to us. He's not God, but he has, to us, he has that power. Imagine being an apostle and saying, here's this guy, the power he had, right? This is what you're being readied for. Okay, let me carry on. Number 3. From the physical and moral inferiority of our globe in the hierarchy of the worlds, the inferior spirits are more numerous here than the superior ones. And until the superior ones are over 50%, we are not going to grow as we should. When they become over 50%, that is when we will start the process of being a planet of regeneration, where the inferior spirits will no longer be allowed on this planet. Now, we are told by Spiritists, those who should be in the know, and by Chico Xavier, who's passed away, but that's what he said. He said, we'll start sometime in the 2050s. And early, I think around 1970, 1980, Chico said that about 3 out of 10 people will go to heaven after they die. Well, we need that to be 5.001 or something like that. So we have a majority, a slight majority. So how are we going to get those extra 2 people to heaven in the meantime, so we can start the road to become a planet of regeneration? That's why I believe there's going to be some big changes afoot that will influence people. So, and these are going to happen within the next years. Otherwise, we won't make the timetable. And as Allan Kardec said, when God wants something, it happens. Okay, number 4. Among those spirits that surround us, there are those that attach to us, that act more particularly over our thoughts, giving us advice, and whose influence we follow unnoticeably. Good for us if we hear the voice of good spirits only. And there are people that are tuned to us. When, as an example, the Reverend G. Val Owen, who was a marvelous guy, was psychographing. and actually there was a team of spirits that would talk to him. And actually, in Chico Xavier, when he was being dictated to by Andre Luis, what is told is it wasn't just the spirit Andre Luis dictating his books to Chico Xavier. There were a group of spirits, and they say that it was led by Socrates, talking to Chico Xavier. Now, I think the person who mainly talked to Chico Xavier was Emmanuel. And Emmanuel actually had a very short life. But I think he died around 20 or something like that. So he could learn modern Portuguese. So it made him more attuned to the mind of Chico, who also knew modern Portuguese. Reverend G. Val Owen, they selected a woman who was closer, who died, within, years within his life. So she would know modern English, whether these other spirits would kind of talk in older English or other idioms and use words that wouldn't make sense. And so that's why that person has to kind of be in kind of a social and culture type of parody, so they can really talk to you right. Because if you had someone trying to talk to you in old English, then you go, and your mind would go, what? So that's how that works. Now, inferior spirits, who probably are right in with you, probably can do it. That's why you always need to use your conscience to filter out stupid ideas, right? It's like being in middle school or junior high school, however it's called where you live, is, 13, 14-year-old always have great ideas for other people to do, actually stupid ideas. And that's where you have to learn, like, oh, I better not do that. They don't care if you're in trouble. And that's why inferior spirits love to see that you get in trouble. And let's go to number 5. The inferior spirits only bond to those that listen to them, that give them access, and to whom they connect. If successful on dominating someone, they identify with their own spirit, fascinating them, obsessing them, subjugating them, and leading them on as one does to a child. And this has happened to quite a lot of people. And this is why, quite reasonably, the Catholic Church and other religions say don't talk to spirits, because this happens. This is why, if you're a medium, you need to be trained, because this will happen. And so I understand why they say, no, be careful. Number 6, obsession can never happen but by inferior spirits. A good spirit will never obsess you. The good spirits don't produce any kind of coercion to combat the influence of the bad spirits, and stay away when they're not listened to. And again, people ask, well, how could that person do that? Or how could I do this thing if I had a guardian angel protecting me? Well, the answer is the guardian angel tried to inspire you, like, don't do that. Be careful. And they did it anyway. They'll warn you and warn you and warn you, and they'll finally say, okay, it looks like you got a lesson to learn. There's this book called Old James, and it was talking about James Dean, the famous actor who died in a car accident. And he loved driving fast, and then he wanted to drive this car really fast. And then his mother, who was the spirit kind of looking out for him, said, don't go drive this car. And, she was in the spirit saying, don't go drive this car. Don't do it, over and over again. Of course, he drove the car and he died in a car accident. So this is kind of thing that happens. They try and tell you, if your intuition, and you feel in the pit of your stomach, right? Because that you're like, what you're doing isn't the brightest thing in the world, which we've all done, right? Don't do it. And if your friends say, well, you're a coward if you don't, you just say, yeah, I'm a coward. Right. And the younger you are, the more your friends will tell you to do stupid things. As you get older, the good friends you have won't tell you to do stupid things. But when you're young, they're full of great advice. So that's why you need to learn to filter out using your conscience. That's why you're here. You're here to rewire your brain and to really use that conscience. That's a set of divine laws given to you by God to filter out anything what people tell you. Okay. Number 7, The degree of coercion and the nature of the effects it produces determine the difference between obsession, subjugation, and fascination, meaning how much is done. And you see a lot of people that happens to that. That's so sad. Obsession is almost a permanent action of a strange spirit that leads the person to be solicited by an incessant need to act by this way or the other and to do this or that. And that happens. Subjugation is the moral bond that paralyzes the free will of the one that suffers it, pushing the person to the most reckless attitudes, frequently most contrary to their own interest. And that happens a lot to these poor old people who use drugs or alcohol, and their mind's not very good, and they're told to do something by a inferior spirit, and then they commit a crime, which they didn't really mean to, and the other spirits will just laugh because now that person's in jail or in bad trouble. It's very sad, but that's part of the test we go through on this world. And I think a lot of people, as I've said this before, but I'll say it again. A lot of people just know by their instinct, which is, again, their conscience and your instinct are given to you in each life, right? So you have that, is stay away from drinking to excess, any drugs, just like, I'm not going to do it. And I think we know that because my wife and I have always been like that. We've never been drunk. I think I got a little tipsy one time when I played, I think, handball, and I was just completely, just lost all my liquid. Dehydrated is the word I'm looking for. And then I went out to dinner and drank, and it got me a bit fuzzy. I didn't like it. I don't like that. But I think because for those who know not to do that, most probably not everyone, because other people are a lot smarter than I am. Most probably is we have been to that level before, and we've been to that low level, and we've been drunks or we've been addicts, and we go, nah, we're not doing that again. That was not a good idea. That's how multiple lives help you become better and better. Okay, fascination. Fascination is a kind of illusion produced by the direct action of a strange spirit by his cunning thoughts. Such an illusion produces an alteration in the comprehensions of moral things, leading to misjudgment and to mistake evil for good. Again, that happens. And I think a lot of medication that is given to these people, which is medication that really kind of cloud their brain and make them not feel themselves, it helps because the spirit really can't influence these poor people because they're not all there. But hopefully there will come a time in the future when there are more Spiritist hospitals and like where people who have these problems, they can sit and maybe they'll still use medication. They'll still use therapy. Spiritism always says use therapy and medication that your doctor provides, but they'll also explore what spirits are trying to do to that person. And maybe some spirits have wanted to obsess that person because of what those spirits perceive that person did to them incorrectly in the past, which happens a lot. And they'll help that way. And in Spiritist hospitals in Brazil, they actually do that. They'll have mediums meeting and they'll find out why spirits are trying to ruin that person's life. Okay, number 8. Man can always disengage from the impression of imperfect spirits by their willpower, by the choice between good and evil. If the coercion achieve the point of paralyzing the will, and if the fascination is such that it obliterates reason, then the will of a third person may replace it. So they need help. And this is where I think, when you look at how AA meetings are in the kind of philosophy of AA, where they have that person helping you and checking on you, and you go through and you ask forgiveness, and it's a lot of spirituality in there from what I've heard. I've never been to a meeting myself, but what I've seen on TV and other places and read articles is they bring that in, that they bring that third person to help you. They bring out the where you want to be a better person. They try to raise your spirituality. It all makes sense. Okay, carry on. The name possession was used in the past to describe the control exerted by the bad spirits when their influence would go to the aberration of the faculties. But ignorance and prejudice have taken by possession what many times was just a pathological state. For us, possession would be a synonym of subjugation. We do not adapt adopt that term for a reason. First, because it implies the belief in beings created and perpetually devoted to evil, when in fact there's only more or less imperfect beings who can improve. Second, it implies that the strange spirit takes over the body in a kind of co-inhabitation, when in fact there is only a connection. Correct. The word subjugation gives a perfect idea. Thus, for there is no possessed in the vulgar sense, but only obsessed, subjugated, and fascinated. And again, in Spiritist writings, when they say, okay, what about this exorcism, right? And then what has been said is the spirits just laugh at that. And they'll just get bored with all that. That's where you have to talk. And you have to say, why is that spirit trying to obsess that person? For the same reason, we do not use the term devil to designate the imperfect spirits, although these are frequently not better than those called devils. It is only due to the specialty and perpetuity associated to that term. Thus, when we say there are no devils, we do not wish to say there are only good spirits. Far from it. We know well that there are evil and much evil ones who solicit us to evil, tricking us, not surprisingly, considering that they were all men. We used to say they don't make a special class in the order of creation, and that God gives all creatures the opportunity to improve themselves. And I believe that probably the vast majority of us have been down there at some point in time in our young, immature spirit lives, and we slowly through life after life learn to become a better person and to fluff off our negative predilections. Okay. I'll carry on. Having said that, let us go back to the mediums. For some, the progress is slow, really slow. These have their patience tested sometimes. For others, it is fast, and in a short time, the medium begins to write with ease and eventually even more promptly than he would do under normal conditions. And before I forget, I think there are on the Facebook site, which is look up Spiritism and the spirit world around us in Facebook. Or you can go to my site, nwspiritism.com. There will be a link to my Facebook site. I am amazed that more and more there are more classes on mediumship. There are more classes on understanding Spiritism. Every day I see more resources from around the world, England, Denmark, and the United States, talking and giving people opportunity to learn more about Spiritism and mediumship. So I cannot say enough. If you are interested in that, go to the Facebook site and you'll see resources there. Okay. It is then that the medium can get carried away, and it is where the danger resides between the enthusiasm leads to weakening, because enthusiasm leads to weakening, and it is necessary to be strong with the spirits. It seems a paradox to say that enthusiasm provokes weakening, but there is nothing more correct than this. Exactly. That's when I was talking about spiritualists. They get all excited. Oh, I'm talking to a spirit, not knowing that spirit has said, oh, I'm this wonderful person, Saint so-and-so, when actually they're not. They're just kind of giving them this line. Some will say that enthusiasm marches with a conviction and confidence that overcomes every obstacle, thus yielding more strength. No doubt, but we become enthusiastic by the false as well as by the true. Accept the most absurd ideas of the enthusiast, and you can do anything you want with him. The object of the enthusiasm is their weak spot by which they can always be dominated. The cold man, on the contrary, is impassive. He's not misled, correlates, weighs, maturely examines, and does not allow seduction through subterfuge. Again, there was this marvelous passage, I forgot which book, on one of the Andre Louis series, where these two spirits are obsessing this poor guy. And Andre Louis and his team leader says, he goes, why are you doing this? And Andre Louis was amazed. He goes, oh, and you know how criminals love to talk about their crime. Oh, we'll tell you, we went to the classes, and I forgot the name of the class. It was like how to obsess someone. And you go in their mind and you see what type of personality type you are. And like those who are sarcastic, you can do this. Those who are misers or who want riches, you use this way. And we take their negative thoughts and we put other spirits around them and we amplify to make a negative feedback loop to, upset it more and more. Like if you want money, then you want more money and all this. And so spirits in the lower zone are trained how to obsess people and mislead people. Okay. So as he said, the cold man is impassive. Right? If I had a spirit, it means like, oh, you're so handsome and wonderful. I was like, okay, this is there's something wrong here. In fact, we had a guy come over to our house and he wanted to have a prayer. And he, okay, we'll have a prayer around the table. That's fine. Then he said, and this guy, we weren't sure, he'd kind of been involved more with Candomblé, which is a lower, it's not Spiritism, it's talking to the lower spirits. It's kind of like the voodoo type thing. And we've been talking about Spiritism, but we can see that we'll see what's happening. So around the table, then he said, oh, I have a message from the spirit. And he gave us this name. I go, and that's a name we knew. And then he started talking. And, he said nice things. It was just like bland, nice. But then he started repeating himself over and over again. And we said, okay, thank you. And then afterwards, when he left, he said, oh, okay, this is not working. Because we knew that wasn't that person. Spirits don't, in fact, the level of the person we knew that passed away a while ago wouldn't keep repeating the same thing over and over again. They don't do that. When they say something, they say it, they mean it, and you really have to go parse every word to figure out what exactly they mean. Even then, you may get it wrong. So I'm telling you, they can, they come very subterfuge. I've seen it. Okay. The malevolent spirits, who know this better than us, also know how to take advantage of the situation and subjugate those who they wish to control. The faculty of writing as medium serves them wonderfully well, as it is a powerful means of captivating the medium's trust and consequently take advantage, if we are not vigilant, against them. Fortunately, as we will see later, the illness also carries the remedy. Be out of enthusiasm, out of fascination by the spirit or the medium's self-esteem. The psychographic medium, in general, is led to believe that the spirit that communicates with him are superior, and that even more the spirits, by noticing the medium's inclination, ornate themselves with pompous titles according to the necessity. Thus, depending on the circumstances, they take the name of saints, scholars, angels, and of the Virgin Mary herself, and play their roles like actors, ridiculously dressing the outfits of who they represent. Remove their mask and become what they are, ridiculous. This is what one must do both with the spirits and with men. Absolutely. They will disguise themselves as other things. They'll say, I'm so forth. Now, the difference is if a medium says, oh, you must be so-and-so, a higher spirit won't correct them because they'll let them believe what they believe. They'll just give them more information. They won't. And this is what I think what people ask all the time about, well, why don't we know these things? Because they let us learn this for ourselves. When Paul thought Jesus was talking to him all throughout as he was being the apostle to the Gentiles, it was really it was Stephen that was talking to him the vast majority of the time. Stephen is the first martyr, the one that was stoned, and actually kind of helped to be stoned by Paul. Paul felt terrible about that, of course. So they'll let you do that, but then they'll never tell you to do anything stupid or evil or bad. I'll give you another example. In one of the Spiritist centers my wife visited, she found out that the Spiritist center, the person in charge of the center, was talking to spirit. And then the more she went a couple times, and she would say, "Oh, the spirit says, don't move that chair outside. No one moves that chair." And the other time, like, "No, don't go out in the garden and cut anything. Only so and so can do that." Well, spirit's not going to tell you to do that. No, it's nonsense. And so this woman had great power because she talked to spirits, and everyone in the spirit center says, "Oh, she's talking to spirits." No, she's not talking to a higher spirit. And so this happens everywhere, even in Spiritist centers. Everyone watch out. If spirits are telling you to do nonsense things like, "Oh, you can't touch that chair," just reject it and say, "Okay, you need to learn a bit or leave that place." Okay. remove their mask and become what they are, ridiculous. This is what one must do both with spirits and men. Okay. From the blind and unthoughtful belief in the superiority of the spirits to the trust in their words, there is only one step, as it also happens with men. If they are able to inspire such a confidence, then they feed it through sophism and cunning reason, before which people normally lower their heads. The rude spirits are less dangerous. We recognize them immediately, and these do not inspire but disgust. And I've heard these too. The most terrible in their world, like ours, are the hypocrite spirits. They always speak with kindness, flatter people's inclinations, are sweet, shrewd, and plentiful of nice expressions, demonstrating dedication. It is necessary to be really strong to resist dissimilar seduction. And that's what I've seen too, that's what I'm saying. If someone tries to blow smoke up your, you know what, that is, no, anyone who excessively flatters you, be on your guard. I'll carry on. Some will ask, where is the danger if the spirits are intangible? The danger is in the evil advice that they give and in the ridiculous, baleful, and untimely attitudes. Oh, let me see. I believe that spirits do their best to ruin relationships. Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah, if you're saying, yeah, if there's good relationships between people, and they want to do damage, absolutely. In fact, for people who first become spiritists or even just become good Christians or good Buddhists or whatever they are, become more spiritual in general by any religion, you'll have spirits trying to stop them. They will be actively involved in trying to stop you from being a good person. They do not want good people, because when the majority of people are good people on the earth, they're going to be sent somewhere else. So yes, I totally agree with that. Okay. Oh yes, okay. I'll carry on. We've already seen some that made certain people to walk from region to region searching for fantastic things at the risk of their health, fortune, and own life. We have seen them dictating the most banal things with grave attitude, applying the strangest teachings. Considering the adequacy of supplying examples side by side with the theory, we will report the case of an acquaintance of ours who had been under the domination of a similar fascination. Mr. F., a highly educated young man, kind and benevolent character, but a bit weak and indecisive, became a psychographic medium in a very short time. Obsessed by the spirit that controlled him and would not let him go, he wrote incessantly. If a pen or a pencil reached his hand, he would convulsively take it, filling pages and pages out in a few minutes. In the absence of an instrument, he would simulate writing with his finger wherever he was, in the streets, on the walls, on the doors, etc. Among the other things he used to write, this: man is made up of three things: man, the bad spirit, and the good spirit. All of you have your bad spirit that is connected to your body by material links. In order to expel the bad spirit, it is necessary to break these links that require the weakening of the body. When the body is sufficiently weak, the link breaks and the bad spirit goes, leaving only the good spirit behind. He's trying to make you weak and make you sick. As a consequence of that beautiful theory, he made him fast for 5 days in a row and wake at night. When he was worn out, they told him, now the thing is done and the link is broken. Your bad spirit is gone. It is now only us that you must believe without reservation. And the man persuaded that the bad spirit had fled, blindly believing everything he was told. The subjugation had come to the point that if they asked him to jump in the water or leave to the other side of the earth, he would have done so. When asked to do something that disgusted him, he felt dragged by an invisible power. He's truly obsessed. This happens to people. I know there's another woman who was in the Spiritist Center, started communicating with spirits, but then this was a bad spirit, and that spirit never she had to go through a lot to be left alone by the spirit. That's why you need to be trained and be very careful. We give a small sample of the moral disposition, and from there on it is possible to judge the rest. So this is what this guy told them. In order to obtain better communication, it is necessary to pray first and fast for several days, some more, others less. Fasting weakens the existing links between the ego and a particular devil connected to each human being. But I won't carry on with this, but anyway, I thought that would be interesting for people to look at. So let me go to the last one I want to go through, which is on page 233. Okay, should be Oh, here we are. General rules about spirits. Okay, I want to go through this before we lose our time. Summarizing, the danger is not properly in the Spiritism, since it can, on the contrary, serve as a control, protecting us from what we are unwillingly exposed. The danger is in the tendency of certain mediums to, very recklessly, believe that they are exclusive instruments of the superior spirits under a kind of fascination that does not allow them to understand the fatuity to which they operate as interpreters. Even those that are not mediums can be dragged. We will finish this chapter with the following considerations. Number one, every medium must prevent from the irresistible excitement that leads them to write incessantly, even at inadequate times. They must control themselves and only write when they want to. So a higher spirit won't exhaust the medium at all. They will protect the medium. They will make sure the medium has sustenance. They will, if the medium exhausts themselves during a medium's meeting, they will actually try to apply passes and help the medium. They will not overwork and overtax the medium. Bad spirits will. So if you feel that, cut yourself off. Number two, we cannot dominate the superior spirits, even those who are not superior, but who are kind and benevolent. However, we can dominate and tame the inferior spirits, which we shouldn't do anyway. Number three, there is no other criteria to distinguish the value of the spirits but common sense. Any formula given by the spirits for that purpose is absurd and cannot proceed from superior spirits. Number four, the spirits, like men, are judged by their language, every expression, every thought, every concept. The whole moral or scientific theory that shocks common sense or does not correspond to the idea that we have of a pure and elevated spirit comes from a more or less inferior spirit. So if you're talking to spirit and you know, it's like, okay, well, and I need, go talk to this lady, or I need this person to give me a love potion, or I'm going to help you become rich. All that's inferior spirits. That's not going to happen. So if you, and also a medium that takes money is going to lose communication with higher spirits. Number five, the superior spirits always use the same language with the same person and never contradict themselves. Now, number six, we do this one also. The superior spirits are always good and benevolent. We never find acrimony, arrogance, rudeness, pride, swagger, or silly presumption in their language. They speak with simplicity, give advice, and leave when not heard. Let's talk about this for a second. So, some people go to mediums meeting and they'll go, "Oh, this your father, who has been passed away for a couple of years, is going to give you a message," and they read the message and it's kind of bland and it doesn't talk about the sock you left in the sock drawer. And they go, "Oh, that's not him. There's nothing here." But that's not the way it works. They will be led by superior spirits and say, "Okay, talk to them, becoming a more moral person, of seeking help, reading about spiritism, or just becoming a nicer person." And that's what they'll talk about. They won't talk about, "Oh, Aunt Ellie's up here, who everybody hated, and they still hate her here." They're never going to say that. They're not going to have bad gossip about other people. They're not going to say these ridiculous things, even though they are who they are when people pass over. Now, there's a medium, maybe not be a spiritist medium, that may talk to lower level spirits that will tell you these gossip and stuff like that, but not a spiritist medium when the medium's meeting is led by advanced spirits who will protect the meeting and only bring in these people for a reason to talk to family members. You have to look for clues. There will be clues in whatever message they are, but they won't be they won't talk impertinently like they did before, things like that. Okay, number 7. We should not judge the spirits by the material form or by the correction of their language, but probe their intimacy, scrutinize their words cold-bloodedly, and analyze them maturely and without prevention. The inferior spirits, number 8, fear for their words to be analyzed, unmask their turpitude, and are not attached to the sophism. Eventually, they try to resist, but end up fleeing when noticed, and they are the weakest part. Number 9, the one that always acts thinking about the good deeds elevate above human vanities. expels selfishness, pride, envy, jealousy, and hatred from the heart, and forgives their enemies, practicing this teaching from Jesus. Do unto others what you would have them do to you. Sympathizes with the good spirits, whereas the bad ones are fearful and stay away from them. Following such principles, we are guaranteed protection against bad communications and against the domination of impure spirits. By taking advantage of everything that truly superior spirits teach us, we will contribute, each in a particular way, to the moral progress of humanity. And that is what Spiritism has called for us. And what they say is will happen to us is that as we advance towards a planet of regeneration, as the beginning phases, more and more people will be mediums, not part of religion. They'll be outside, and it's like spiritualists and spiritists. They'll become mediums, and they'll bring us more and more information from the spirit world. And that's why we have to prepare ourselves to adequately supply that information and to tell people what is being said. So, what I recommend is, if people want to know more about the spirit realm, what you are, who you are, what your power is, how to live here, is read my latest book, The Spirit Realm. Spiritism has revealed the reality of our existence, and you can find that on paperback, Kindle, and in Audible. First, I would recommend the Spirits book on PDF in my PDF book, Spiritism 101. But then when you want to get deeper, read The Spirits Realm. I also have books like where I even go deeper into that, such as Heaven and Below. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong one. Then I have book 2 is, that's book 3. Book 2 up. Book 2 is Spirits in the Spirit Universe. Book 2 is Spiritism. It tells you all about spirits, how you grow as a spirit, how you take lessons, and when you go from one level to the next, you become actually more powerful, meaning you have more energy and less matter as your ratio of energy to matter. And book 3 is How We Are Guided by Spirits. Book 3 is Spiritism. So I hope I've given people information in this time to let people explore themselves what Spiritism is. Please explore it. There's lots of resources out there. It's based on, we also are called Christian Spiritism. Jesus Christ is our Father. He's led this whole planet from the beginning. And it's love. And if you could boil Spiritism down to one thing, what spirits say, it's the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Okay.